Hi everyone, so this is going to be a quick tutorial on how to read and understand a research paper. One important thing I think should be taken into consideration is that you should look at who the author is, as well as any institutions that are tied to them. For example, we know that this was written by these two authors, but we can also see the university that they are tied to. You want to make sure that you're not spending all of your time reading a paper that was apparently written by Joe Schmo during happy hour. An easy way to make sure that you're reading a legitimate and verified article or research paper would be when you are searching through your database. For example, if I were to research digital games used in the classroom, and I get all of these results, you don't know which ones are going to be good, true research papers, but it helps if you check off scholarly journals and make sure that they are peer-reviewed. Something that I thought was interesting was doing additional research to see what other people thought was good advice for reading research papers. And the tip that I read that I didn't agree with initially was don't read the abstract. Now, the abstract will be the first thing that you see in a paper. You'll also see it pop up in the research list sometimes. So they'll give you a quick little explanation. But it's a summary that gives you a lot of the information, including the results. So initially, when I read an article saying you should skip the abstract, I disagreed. It's such a quick way to understand what you're going to be reading about in the passage, but it also gives you the author's conclusion. So if you want to improve your critical thinking skills as you are reading the research paper, I would say don't read the abstract. It could create a bias. Instead, you want to go to the intro. The introduction is going to give you more of a lead-in as to what problems they are trying to solve, how these researchers came to the idea of creating this research and going through the process. Another interesting article that I found in my personal research for how to read a research paper was this here, written by Keshev from the University of Waterloo. She has some interesting ideas about what to do while you're reading through a research article. And her advice was to do a 3-pass approach. The idea is that your first pass or read through will help you to determine if the paper is one that you want to read. In that first pass, you would read through the sections and the subheadings, but if you see tables like this that include data, you skip it. You do not pay attention to that. The maps, the images, none of that, but you read through all of the headings and the subheadings and the conclusion. So, if what you read does interest you, then your second reading would be done more carefully. That's when you are reading through the information and taking notes on a notepad, or if you have a printout, you're writing things in the margins, just things that you notice, any questions that you have as you are reading, and you're going to be looking at the figures and the data more closely. This is a good time to also take note of the results when you get to the results section of the paper. Notice how many people are used in this sample size. For example, this research paper was done on 66 students. I wouldn't necessarily take it at its word, but it would be interesting to reproduce it with a greater audience. If it's done with 10,000 people, that's a good research sample size. Versus 10 people, I'd take that result with a huge grain of salt. This is also a good chance on your second pass through to look at the resources that they used as well. Those references you can use on your own. Excuse the fact that this one is also in other languages. But you can use those resources to do additional research for yourself to see if you can learn any additional background information on the subject. So, something that I didn't necessarily agree with was the information Keshev gave on the third pass. She suggests that while you're reading a third time, you are actually preparing to, quote, virtually re-implement the paper, end quote. I do not actually believe that this step is necessary every time you read a research paper, though I can certainly understand the importance if you are an actual reviewer. Remember, peer-reviewed articles. I think that a third reading should be more of an opportunity to glance over your notes as you are reading and begin to delve deeper. Think of questions, look at your notes and compare it to what you've noticed at the end as you've read through the entire thing, and take note of strengths and weaknesses that you have gathered from this research paper. This is also when I think you should go back to that abstract because it's a quick summary and it's very dense and it has all of the information along with the process and the conclusions. And now that you've had a chance to develop some of your own ideas, see if you do agree with the abstract. Or maybe your results or what you think of the results would have a different interpretation. Upon completion, a good additional step after reading this would be to research other researchers and see what they have noticed or what they have gathered on that research. Do they agree or do they disagree? What are they saying about the study? I actually did research this because I was very interested in this article, and I couldn't find any other data, or not data, but comments on the article, and I like to think it's because it's from November of 2020, and it's just very recent. But I am hoping that there are some reviews of this article for me to read later on. I found this one very interesting. And that is my quick little spiel on how to read a research paper.